So if we just give ourselves a moment just to appreciate the power of nature, the variety of nature, and to flow with nature, so that as we actually stand on this spot, we feel the rock beneath us that's going down and down and down into the earth. And it is a particular vibration that helps people with feet and back problems. So the rock beneath our feet is there to help people allow heart energy and allow stability to allow heart energy. And it is a type of forgiving vibration that allows for the change that goes on constantly in nature. And to help us appreciate the change that goes on constantly in nature, and to go with the flow of the change that goes on constantly in nature. So the nature is always impermanent, it's always changing, it's always guiding us, and it helps us go with the flow of it. And if you look at the clouds, there's a particular pattern in the clouds at the moment. So if you let go of the fact that there's water falling on your head and look up at the clouds, there's actually a particular vibrational pattern to the clouds at the moment, which is in perfect harmony to the rocks underneath our feet in this exact moment, that is doing the forgiving and is allowing the human to go with the changes that the earth is going with. And this is the challenge of the humans, is to actually go with the nature rather than think of themselves as conquering nature. And it's to move with nature and to be in touch with nature enough to see the signs in nature, to go with the change that nature is leading on a moment by moment basis. And it's the forgiveness of that vibration that helps the human body stay flexible, stay supple, stay fit, stay healthy, and to flow. And that's where the appreciation of nature helps that flow, and that awareness of how nature operates helps that flow, and helps every aspect of the human's life.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Humans are not necessarily fond of standing and having water poured upon them. And yet sometimes there is something that can be said for it. The theme is, as stated, getting in touch with nature, but perhaps there's something more. Let us acquaint those listening. In the ring of Kerry, we stand by the ocean. The cliffs are majestic, and the group is in a car park. It's not necessarily sacred ground any more than any other ground is sacred. There isn't an abbey here where there are monks who have written knowledge, but there is something here. You're in the elements, and I would like to try so much to alert you to something that has been lost so grandly by so many humans on the planet. When the times were different, and I say it again, all humans had were the stars, nature, the animals. And that is when the earth was part of them. And there was a realization, a tremendous knowledge that the earth was part of humanity, not apart from humanity. Everything revolved around the partnership of the planet and the humans upon it. You have heard the expression dust to dust. It is true. Corporeally, you are part of the planet. You came from there. You don't have a tendency to think that. You're born in modern clean rooms. You go from here to there in covered areas. You walk in cement. You never understand that you are part of the planet's dirt. The very water that falls on your head used to be in the ocean, and then it goes to the sky, and then it comes back, and then it goes, and it comes. The circle is the same with you. And the only reason we point this out yet again is because there is an energy flow. There is a consciousness. There's even a friendship with Earth. And if you remove yourself from it and live day by day in a society that doesn't honor it, you lose something. You lose one of the best friends that you've ever had, ever could have, one that supports you. Even if you never touch it, it's there. It's called the Gaia grid. How much can we tell you yet again about how much you've lost? Of how the indigenous counted upon it, aligned with it, didn't worship it, aligned with it, so that they could have the things that they needed, and then they gave back to the planet. How is it that it could be lost so completely that you don't even think of it? Could you start your day? Thank you, dear spirit inside. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you for the circle and the cycle that is here. It means so much. Your life will improve if you include the friend called Gaia. And so you stand here with the water falling on your head, with the cars driving by, and you think, how sacred could this be? And we tell you the sacredness is what you make it. And the planet is always ready for ceremony. It's a strange place, perhaps, for the ceremony. Or is it? This is the message. It always is. Always will be. That the spirituality that you claim inside also includes that which you came from. Gaia speaks today. You can listen. It talks in the wind and the rain and says thank you. And so it is.
So we're going to spend some time appreciating water, appreciating the vibration of water and the life in water and the vibration of water, and talk to the water. So we'll start with some gratitude to the water and thank the water for the blessings and for all the work it does on the planet and for all the work it does in our bodies and in our lives and for all the beauty it brings to the planet, as well as the practical, and for the various formations it shows up in: liquid, ice, snow, and for the crystal nature that's in water, and the messages that water carry, and the awareness of keeping water positive and pure, and for playing our role in that. So the water here is talking about healing, and by healing it means peace. It means bringing peace, and it means bringing peace to the cells in your body, and peace to your mind, and peace to your heart. And all else follows from that peace. And that peace is the choice, And peace is your reality when you choose. Peace has to be your reality when you choose. And if you speak to the water, you can bless the water and ask the water, when you're putting it into your body, to be for your highest good, and the water will do that. The water is your friend, and the water can even help to ground you. If you speak to the water in your body and speak to the water in the earth, it will help you align with your grounding with the earth.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Before we even begin, we wish to celebrate the healings that have occurred on this very spot. The epiphanies that have happened, the joy, the sadness, the feelings of connections to God right here. And that is why this place is special. And we have chosen it to give a very special kind of channeling. I want today's information to be complete. And here is the question. Kryon, you are in the land of fairies and little people. Is this true or not? It is such a stretch of the imagination for most of the planet to believe such things. Don't dance around the subject, Kryon. Give us a yes or a no. That's the question. I'll give you the answer, but I have to do a little dancing because it's Ireland. Let us look at this slowly, practically. Let us use logic, connect the dots. Let us look at whether this could be real or not. First of all, the entire nation is aware of it. The mainstream of Ireland is aware of it. And whether they believe it or have seen it, it has lasted for centuries. And so you know there must be core truth here in this. If it were fantasy, if it were marketing only, it would have not lasted near this long. And yet they all know. I bring up several things for you to look at. This is the dance. Approximately 70 years ago, reality started to shift when scientists discovered new realities. They discovered dimensionality in atomic structure. It went beyond that which human beings thought was real. It was so startling that even the scientist Einstein objected. He didn't understand the non-linearity of what was being suggested at all. That the atomic structure all around you is multi-dimensional. You live in only a piece of it. And we've said this before, you live in a beautiful, colorful world. And yet the human being is structured and built for black and white. Let me continue. What the scientists saw was how literally particles and objects could appear and disappear. How they might be in two places at the same time. How the very laws that you depend upon to see things, to reflect light, change with multidimensionality. Now, dear ones, I want you to get this clearly. This is not something that belongs in experiments. This is all reality. And what they discovered was that everything is in multi-dimensions. Everything. The human being is designed to be linear. Gaia is not. In a few months, my partner has been guided to go with scientists and others to the largest multidimensional experiment on the planet called CERN. And there they take the atomic structure apart to see if they can discover more of the multidimensionality they know is there. A tremendous investment has been made in what they know is there. Am I dancing hard enough yet? 150 years ago, two men in particular postulated and worked on an amazing idea that there are things you could not see that created disease, infection, that the world simply was crawling with little things that you could not see. Surgeries in those days had a 55% cure rate. Anytime a doctor opened a human being, only half survived. Until these two men proved something. Along came the microscope and germs were discovered. If you couldn't see them, they didn't exist. And the entire medical community and the planet was in black and white medically. And the microscope came and suddenly there was color. And you see the metaphor. And they understood that out of sight there were things. There's more. There's much more. We can talk about so many things that point to the fact that out of Gaia comes multidimensionality. Let us go to that which is Scripture for a moment. How many times had humans seen apparitions, had seen the angels, and reported on them? How many times in Scriptures have the angels reported that when they came, they said to the humans, "Don't fear us. We're fine." Do you doubt that which you read in Scripture? Even the ancients. Do you doubt that the burning bush was seen? Or was it a typo in Scripture? History is filled with this. Seeing things out of 3D is common among many human beings. And that's what we want to tell you about. We are not going to revisit why this space above Ireland is so different, why Gaia opens up so differently. We gave that channel a bit ago. Review it if you wish, to know why it is in this area Gaia is so much stronger when it comes to pouring out that which is multidimensionality. Now here it is. You should listen clearly. What happens when humanity is able to see multidimensional things? It is not linear. And therefore the human being's brain linearizes it to make sense of it. We have stood near Mount Shasta and we have given channel after channel. There have been those who've gone up on the mountain even at night and seen the lights. How do you explain that? But this is Ireland. You don't have to go to a mountain. It's always here. It is here 10 times where anywhere on the planet. And when human beings feel this and see this, even at night, they claim perhaps divas or fairies or angels, because the human mind will linearize these things to make them work for them. They are real. The answer is yes. Now I want you to look at the attributes of what they see. If it's little people, if it's fairies, if it's anything here, it is always associated with Gaia. Always. Whether it's the trees or the wind or the air or the ground, it is always associated with Gaia. It didn't come down from the sky. It came up from the earth. That ought to tell you. It's Gaia producing multidimensional energies right here, right where you stand, right now. Those of you who are open enough can see these things if you give intent. And then look at this attribute. Are they monsters? No. Are they huge? No. They're always benevolent and friendly and happy. Did you notice? This is a metaphor from Gaia, however you linearize it. Whether you give them skin and wings or make them look a certain way or put clothes on them, or if they're just lights or they're divas in the forest, all of them are benevolent to humanity. All of them. The metaphor is clear. And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. The invitation, especially in this place, in this land, is to open your eyes and see in color. You're surrounded with a colorful world. Get out of black and white. Allow yourself to feel and see it. And then posture what you have seen and felt as you speak to other people so they understand it was real, not imaginary. But blessed, you're in the land where things appear, where Gaia can speak and you can see it. The answer is yes. And so it is.
So we'll just spend some time now just resting in the wind and feeling the wind and allowing the wind and listening to the waves and going with the rhythm of the waves and seeing the connection between the tides and the moon and the magnets in the earth and the way it pulls the water on the earth and within ourselves, and how it affects all the life in the water and all the life on the earth and within ourselves. And we allow for that magnetic pull in our own lives by following our own instincts and by trusting our own instincts. And by living innately and living instinctively and being present in the moment and allowing the moment and giving ourselves that gift of spontaneity and flexibility that we can live in a moment and go with the flow of nature moment by moment.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, it is a channeling. But hopefully by now you see it is simply a message. That's all. It's not a plea for worship. It's not a plea for anything but attention to things that perhaps you would not think of otherwise. It does not go beyond anything that you would believe that would be religious or sacred. It does not replace anything that you've learned. It's simply an honoring of that which is the creator on this planet in many different ways. That's all. There are those who would think that these messages would then have to replace another belief system. It's such a linear thought of humanity that you either have to be in this box or this box or this box. But perhaps you could be in all of them at the same time and take the best of each. It's a new kind of thinking. It's a thinking that is not on the planet yet. It is interesting, is it not, the wars that have been fought over how to worship God. The very creator, the source of love, And it's humans who have put themselves in the boxes of being correct or not correct, not God. And so we come yet again with messages of love and compassion, and that's not exclusive at all. Anyone within hearing range, anytime, anywhere, should know that we sit upon the beauty of the ocean. It is morning, the sun is out, and the humans who are here and they sit and they look especially are alert to the beauty and the wonder, yet again, of this great land. We have spoken of Ireland. We have spoken of the multidimensionality of the things that are here. We've spoken of physics. We've spoken of God. We've talked about the reasons why things are perhaps as they are. We have celebrated this. We have not made any demands, because that is not what you do when you sit in front of Spirit. You soak in the partnership that is yours. And you feel an alliance with the land and the ground like no other place on the planet. We'll speak of that in just a moment. I have 3 things for you. 3. We're going to honor you. It's time to turn inward from all the teachings we have been doing so far on the trip. 3 things I would like you to look at for yourself. And we're going to start perhaps with the most esoteric one first. When you look at yourself, do you understand or recognize or even believe that you're part of the entire creation? Or do you look at yourselves separately as human beings walking on cement in a society that is apart from Gaia, apart from nature, and you simply live your life? Or do you see yourself as part of creation and perhaps, just perhaps, the system? And the system is God. The Creator has put together all that you see in a beautiful system that is benevolent and symbiotic to itself. We've spoken of how it balances constantly, no matter what the storms are. Inside you, I ask you, can you see God inside? This is the biggest question of humanity. And we tell you yet again that it's all around you, and for thousands of years, humans have always sought out the creative source. The irony is that they have warred over it. But it's the first thing a human does. They feel a complementary energy of the Creator. Where did I come from? Is there a greater power? What does it mean? Is it alive? Does it know me? What does it want? These have been the questions forever of humanity, since the beginning. And here you sit yet again with a message that says perhaps now you'll grow up enough to understand you are part of this source, not apart from it. And when you're a part of it, you can understand that there is benevolence and love, awareness that is part of you, part of the heavens, part of all that is. You are part of it, not apart from it. Can you go there? What does it mean to you? Even a small thing. Can you sit alone in a room and say, thank you, God, or whatever you want to call it, the creative source, for me? Are you a part of it to know that perhaps you will return? The initial intuitive thought of all humanity from the beginning was that you do return. Indeed, it is part of the system. Your soul is eternal. Can you really look inside and capture that idea? Or do you think it all just ends when you leave the planet? This is number one. It is the most esoteric. It is the biggest of all things. That's question one. Can you feel inside part of all that is? Ponder it. It does have an answer. Number two, we have spoken of multidimensional things, just as we did yesterday. We said that the earth is in color and that human beings are designed in black and white. And that slowly, in these new energies, in a peaceful time, in a time of correction and change and transformation, humans are starting to morph into more compassionate beings. They've settled the wars. They're trying to come together to make things work instead of separate and be apart. And so I ask this about you and the structure you are. As you look at your own corporeal self, I'm going to ask you, do you think you are multidimensional? This is question 2. And if you are, that gives you some abilities that perhaps you've not been told you have. Like the earth around you that we talked about. Being multidimensional. Could it be that you are actually in color, and yet you've been told you're in black and white? And if you believe that you are, like all physics, multiple realities, if you believe that you are partly quantum, which you are, then you would understand you are then part of the cosmos. The human being that you are, what you call perhaps your soul or your mind, could it be that it is more expansive than you've been told? When you sit and ponder the ocean, and you listen to the sounds of it, or you sit alone with yourself, can't you feel it? If you are multidimensional, even slightly, it allows a credibility for that which would say that you've been here before, that you're bigger perhaps than you think. This is question 2. Are you bigger than you think? Not in an egotistical way, in a benevolent, beautiful, compassionate way. Can you look out over the ocean, perhaps even communicate multidimensionality-wise with the dolphins or perhaps the trees around you? Do you think that this is possible? Let me tell you that physics says it is. Physics will tell you that if you have any kind of multidimensional awareness, that perhaps you could participate in things called entrainment, entanglement, even be in 2 places at the same time, bilocate if you wish. All of these things, too strange for you perhaps, but if physicists say that particles of matter can do it, what are you? You are particles of matter. It's about the consciousness that you have that says yes or no. So this aligns with question 1. Is there God inside? Question 2, on your corporeal scheme, can you use it? Do you allow yourself the ability to think that big? Question 3, you see we're going from big to small. Question 3, your corporeal self, your very cells, your chemistry, the 3-dimensional part of you, is it more than you think? Human beings have a tendency to think at any point in history that they've reached a know-all point. They know everything that is possible to know. And the reason we see this is because there is very little acceptance of new things. And so there is a wall, is there not, that says, We are modern. We have science. We know everything. There is very little, and yet there is a lot. Is it possible that corporally inside you, you could youth instead of age? That there is chemistry that is just waiting to be activated by question number 2. And the question number 2 is, do you have multidimensional properties? If you did, where would they be? Dear ones, they're in your consciousness. And they can be activated to answer question number 3, which we haven't given yet, and that is there more to your corporeal 3-dimensional self than you believe? Could it be that there are youthing templates, that there are things within your body that would allow you to live as long as you've heard that the masters have lived? Do you think that the lifespans of the biblical characters that lived 900 years was a typo in Scripture? Or could it have been accurate? These are the 3 questions. We're starting to turn inward now. And then there is this, finally. There's something hiding here in Ireland. It's barely been discovered or tried. We've spent all of this time telling you that this land is different. We started last Sunday by giving you the physics of it. Why is this land filled with multidimensional perception, with little people, with life forms that you can feel and hear and enjoy? What is different here? No place on the planet has the lineage of this for centuries. You've had lights in the trees, and you've felt things here. Do you think that the soil would be more commensurate here for doing something that nobody really has thought of? Dear ones, I'll just blurt it out because there are those who are already starting to understand it. Ireland is ripe for something, and that is the discovery of the growing of superfood. Food that can only be grown here, that has attributes in it that will heal and youth. There are other places on the planet where these kinds of discoveries have been made, but nothing like this. My partner visited Rapa Nui, Easter Island. The average age of a Rapa Nui, when they were left alone, before they were discovered, is 120 years. They found a place to grow things, and the things that they grew were commensurate with their bodies. They didn't age. The superfood that they found, grown in a beautiful area in the volcano that was precious and had energy in it, kept them young. I'm telling you that this is what the soil here will do. Doesn't it make sense? It is just packed with multidimensional energy. The seeds will be different. The discoveries could be different. This could be the center of a whole new industry. And the industry would be the youthing of humanity through the kind of land and soil that simply does not exist anywhere but here. Think of this. Do you think that certain seeds would grow differently? And the answer is yes. And if you could design them, if you could implant consciousness in the seeds, there's all manner of things that are waiting to come here to Ireland that will benefit humanity in ways you cannot even imagine. Superfood, youthing food, grown and enhanced by the little people. I give this to you now. There will be those who will discover it, and someday will listen to this channel and say, he was right. All of these things coming to enhance a new kind of human in a new kind of age where you're starting to become compassionate and you're going to need to live longer. That's it for now. And so it is.
So I just have a brief story of what happened to me in Glendalough. I used to come here and I used to feel very physically unfit and almost like hungover or poisoned. And this went on for a long time. And then I was thinking, well, this whole valley was a monastic settlement. The whole valley, like you're only seeing the tiny ruins that are left, but the whole valley, all the way back down to the village we drove up through. So I was thinking, well, if St. Kevin came here and he knew it was, a good place to start a monastic valley, and the whole valley is that high power, why don't I just directly go and talk to the guides who St. Kevin talked to know to come here? And it was instant when I started talking directly to the guides that St. Kevin had been talking to. My physical body was fit, it was free flowing, I could walk for miles up the mountains and everything, but they had me slow down until I realised what it was they were trying to tell me. So I always tap into the guides that spoke to St. Kevin, and that's what the meditation is that I want to do now. So if we just settle ourselves, and it's very much about going down underneath the earth and what's beneath the earth in this place, and the makeup, the vibrational makeup of the rock that's underneath this place, and the energy and the knowledge that's stored underneath this place. And we'll see it later when we go up the hill, the white quartz rocks and the trees growing over the white quartz rocks. And it's the whole vibrational knowing of how to live in harmony with nature, how to engineer in harmony with nature, and how to be an advanced society in harmony with nature and aligning with the whole universal system that we're a part of, which we would call a natural system. But it's a whole thing of naturally being able to get water to flow where you need it to flow so that you can have your industries and have your breweries and have your educational systems, that everything is in complete alignment with the sun and the moon and the stars. And that's what the round tower is used for. It's a tool. It's like the way you would have used a medicine wheel or a ring of the Ra. It's all to do with helping the human get to meditative states where they're in perfect harmony and perfect alignment with the universal systems beyond this planet and into infinity. And it's making those kind of leaps that all of that can actually have practical applications for humans, which lead to healthier states for living on this planet. So if we just take a moment just to go under the earth again and see the caves under the earth and the rock underneath the earth, and feel the way that feels for you, or see the way that looks for you. But this is where the knowledge and the knowing is, and that's how this whole area came to be. And this is how St. Kevin lived with liberty, lived with freedom, practiced love, and practiced that in every single activity. Every single practical activity was with this intention. And how this then became a centre for that kind of learning and for that kind of way of practicing life.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, we sit outside, and this day is beautiful, and the sun is here for us to enjoy. You can hear Gaia, you can hear the birds, you can hear the life. It is the 8th channel. And 8 in numerological terms, in the simplest form, means abundance. There is abundance here. all around you, you might say. The abundance of wisdom, of teaching. I want again to make some comparisons today to both Gaia, that is the planet, the earth, and humanity. And if you took a look at the message today, you would say it would be the message I gave 26 years ago. The message is always the same with different words. But the message is now more acute, that is to say, it's sharper, because of the shift of humanity that is occurring. And part of the shift of humanity is that which is allied with nature, that which is allied with the planet. It is no mistake that we sit today in that place you call Ireland, where it's all about the planet and the multidimensional things that you feel here as you sit here. It's different than other places, and this is the time to teach an alliance, a harmony that you may really not be aware of. You may not even be aware of what the planet does. Humans are so removed quite often from the bigger picture of who Gaia is. And the alliance is more than just feeling good. Perhaps it's even for life itself. Let's look at the planet in 3 different areas, and then briefly I'll ask you to do the same. Gaia is self-balancing. And it's so interesting if you look at it from afar. If you could stand back and see the little round marble, which is the earth, and realize that it has only one outside source, and that is the sun. Everything else must occur within itself. It is self-balancing. All of the systems that it has, the multiples of complexities, must continue, and they do. It must be balanced. And you might say, well, that's fine and that's nice, but it's more than fine and nice. It's not that easy. The earth must go through cycles of renewal in order for it to remain balanced. And when I say renewal, I mean life itself. I speak to those who perhaps have had what you will call a fish tank. And you put your fish in there and you marvel at them and you enjoy them. And perhaps year after year, you treat the water accordingly. You put the chemistry in, the pH, the oxygen, all of the things you do correctly, year after year. And yet, there has to be some time when you change the water. You know what I'm talking about. The earth cannot do that. How does it work? If you've ever wondered how the planet sustains self-balance, you're looking at it right now. It is the theme of Kryon. It's part of the shift. What you call weather change, what some have literally called the warming cycle. It is a cycle. It's a cycle of warm and cold. It's happened before. Now, humans haven't been around long enough to record this cycle accurately and know that it's natural. And so humans are very excited. They see things starting to shift. They believe they've caused it themselves. They have not. This has happened over and over and over. Listen, dear ones, the earth does some startling things you may not even be aware of in order to balance itself. It will create life and death on the planet, and renewal is the result. With warm and cold, sometimes it will kill its own fish and wipe out its own reefs in order to start again. And in the restart, the nutrients are there fresh. It's not an old system that tries to build on itself. Sometimes it has to be wiped out in order to start anew. This is the cold and the warm cycle of the planet. It's not something that humans are responsible for. If you weren't here, it would have happened anyway. Now we're careful here, and we say it to everyone. The pollutants you put in the air and the water are killing you, not the planet. The planet is very self-sufficient. Give it enough time, it'll clean it all up. Don't do it. It's going to kill you. The planet is resilient and will self-balance. This is what it does. In the self-balancing of this globe, this beauty, it then creates a static energy. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, which would be number 3. A self-balancing earth is one that is at peace with itself. Number 2, earth is self-repairing. And it does things you might not expect. It does them so elegantly that not necessarily would you realize that it's even doing it. Let me give you an example. Something that very few humans even think about. Long before humanity, there were tremendous oil spills in the ocean. And you might look at this and say, well, was that from space creatures that came down? No, it bubbled up from the bottom of the sea, where today you find and drill for oil. It bubbled up all by itself, millions of what you call barrels, all over the ocean. It was a common occurrence. Think about it. Ask a geologist whether it's possible to have natural oil spills, and they will say, of course. Now, what happened was bioremediation. The planet knows how to clean up its own oil spills. And as proof of this, when humans accidentally do it, the ecology returns faster than anyone will project. That's just one example. It repairs itself. When a forest becomes too dense, and it often will because growth is that way, if the trees are too close together, when disease is carried by insects, when the roots start to rot because they cannot get room, the answer is electricity. Lightning then will cause the fires and will wipe out the forest. And it will grow again. And from the burned trees comes life that only fire can bring. It repairs itself. This is all part of a harmony of balance that knows itself so well that it can do it within its own system. It has no outside source except the sun. Number 3. How do we describe it? Earth with an attitude. Does Gaia have an attitude or life? Does it have a personality? And we have told you that it does. Almost like a living, breathing thing, multidimensionally, this planet is alive. It has an attitude of benevolence and peace. You sit in a beautiful field of grass. The sun is coming and going as the clouds move by. The birds are enjoying it, and you listen to them. It's peaceful. This is Gaia's natural state. The storms, they come and go, but the natural state of Gaia is harmony, balance, and peace. Now listen to this carefully. The master teacher is Gaia. What does it want to say to you at this moment? Listen carefully. Gaia does not argue with itself. Gaia is not in conflict with itself. It is not in conflict with its own systems. It doesn't face off in a hierarchy and decide what part of it is in charge of another part. It is always balancing itself, and the balance always is benevolence and peace. What does the master teacher have to say to you today about number 3? If you are going to emulate and survive on this planet, you're going to have to listen to the teacher. Let's look at the human being. You are self-balancing. You're built to be self-balancing. All through your life, you're built this way. So that your consciousness will understand when there is drama or confliction or worry or fear, and be able to then get together and self-balance itself through the knowledge of the one source you have, and it's not the sun. You are connected to the creative source. That is the one thing that is outside of yourself that you can emulate and look at. Like the earth uses the sun, you use the great central sun. That is to say, the creative source in you creates self-balance if you'll allow it. Now that's the design of the human. That's not necessarily how you act. Or is it? It's the invitation from the great teacher who was looking at you and saying, look, you are completely and totally alone in the system. Your system from head to foot is enclosed. And it can be self-balancing. Number 2, can it repair itself? It is designed to repair itself. It is designed to rejuvenate, just like the planet. There are so many systems of your body that repair itself, and yet you go to outside sources. Let me tell you where the best source of self-balance and repair is. It is in the botanicals of this planet, period. This planet can give you youth. It can give you health. It can extend your life. There will be, if there is not already, there is some of it, but not already, is there a plethora of information about what works and does not work for the human body for sustenance. What you do is manufacture your food for taste instead of for health. Did you know that some of you have an akash that craves different kinds of foods from different parts of the planet, and yet you continue to eat only what your culture gives you? Did you know that you could extend your life, maybe even double it, if you would start analyzing what is it from Gaia that you could eat that your cellular structure would just not only enjoy and love, but nourish itself and youth. And youth. In other words, you can slow down your aging. Is it possible that what you eat actually creates aging? Yes. It's more than just toxins, dear ones. It's about the harmony of your chemistry with the partnership of Gaia. The ancients, the natives, would often go into very dense forests and find obscure things growing and study them and put them together with other obscure things in order to extend life, to heal wounds, to repair. And today, you do it artificially. And yet it's always been there in the ground, always in the soil, ready not only for you to use medicinally, but also ingest and use it for nourishment. This is going to be a new science. It doesn't even have a real name yet. This is the invitation. That was number 2. Number 3. What is your attitude? The great teacher says that if you're not peaceful, you'll be at war. War with yourself. All of the cellular structure in the human body is craving peace. Just like the planet self-balances and repairs and has an attitude of benevolence and peace. I want you to feel the sun. As it comes and goes, I want you to listen to the grass grow. perhaps to the birds, perhaps to children playing in this peaceful area, and understand the great teacher Gaia is saying to you, what is it about you that you want to create fear in your life over the things around you, or perhaps drama over the things around you? There is an appropriate time. Life is life, but where is your center point? Is it peaceful? The great teacher is that which you can look at right now and enjoy all day long. Again, we say that the trees do not get up and move around and argue with one another. The trees are benevolent with where they sit, and they work with each other. Everything works with everything else. And it's not a design, it is a system, and that's different. What is your system of life? When you look at others, can you see the creative source in them? An animal looks at nature and sees itself. A tree sees itself. And everything around it is part of itself. One system of benevolence. The planet does not fear. And you would say, well, what should it fear? What could it fear? I'll tell you, dear ones, that there's a lot of things out there in space. It does not fear. It is self-balancing. It is peaceful within itself, because that is the state of eternalness. You're going to live a long time. Every cell of your body wants peace. This is the life extension secret that no chemical can ever bring you. How are you with you? Listen to the master teacher. Walk around today and see, how is the planet with itself? If it could yell at you, it would. And it would yell, be still and know that you're God. That the outside source, the one outside source, like the sun is for the earth, is the great central sun, the source of creation. And that source teaches you peace, benevolence, and compassion, self-balance, and you'll stop aging. Every cell of your body, chemically, yells. It wants peace. Do you argue with yourself? Don't answer that. And if you do, you're not connected with the teacher. That's enough for now. Enjoy this day as you walk among that which wants to teach you. And so it is.